Hi, everybody. It's Toni Ann Marcolini. Welcome to the podcast. It may interest you to know. I'm very excited because we're celebrating Christmas today. Now, we're going to jump around and do a bunch of different things. We're talking to different people about what their favorite Christmas tradition is or favorite Christmas story is. We're going to be talking to some kids about their favorite Christmas movies. So we have a lot of stuff to get to, and I guess let's just get to it. Have a favorite Christmas tradition or just Christmas story that you could share with us?
The first color photograph ever taken ever put in the Los Angeles Times, first photo ever done in color, was my father's Christmas tree. He had a spectacular Christmas tree. We were raised in Hancock Park, and it went from wall to wall and at the ceiling to the floor. It was massive. And the lights took days. And he was very controlling, my father, about this tree. And it ended up being the first color photo ever taken in the Los Angeles Times. It was my dad's tree. And then the other tradition that was really wonderful is my mom would buy little trees, real ones, little ones, maybe 4 feet tall, and or 3 feet tall, and put them in each of our bedrooms and have them all lit up, and little ornaments. And every night she'd turn them on, or she'd tuck us in, and she'd leave them on until we fell asleep. And then as we fell asleep, she'd turn them off for the night. But that was my favorite thought of all.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
I don't really have any specific memories. It's more of a feeling, because I think that's what the holidays are for me. It's a feeling. So, even as a kid, it was just the butterflies of waking up in the morning, and yeah, there's Santa and all of that and the fun presents, but it's kind of the joy that it brought my parents to see us so happy. And that's how I felt about my kids as well. It's just, the shopping, all of that was really, in anticipation of that morning where you can give somebody something so wonderful and special that it makes them giggle and laugh. And of course they end up, playing with the box. But still, that feeling is wonderful. So I hope you're well, and I hope that you have a beautiful holiday season.
We have some traditions, of course. The night before Christmas, we have a big dinner with the small part of the family. We wait until midnight and we go to church. And we normally eat fish the night before, which is true. And then only on Christmas Day, we have some meat and pasta and stuff like that. Not much. No, I would say the only thing is, that in Italy they say Natale con i tuoi and Pasqua con chi vuoi, which means Christmas with your family and then Easter with wherever you want. The only traditions that I think I'm very happy that I'm able to do it this year, since I'm in Italy with my parents, is to spend Christmas with the family.
Okay, one time when we were kids, my mother and my sister and I, we were also it's kind of like one of those, you feel like getting a tree? Not really. Do you really want to make cookies? Not exactly. You feel like doing anything? Not really. So we all got a pizza and we went to the beach, and we had Christmas pizza on the beach. We just didn't feel like it.
So I'm sitting next to my Christmas tree right now. It sort of has become my daughter's and my tradition to put the tree up on Thanksgiving weekend. I must say that a few years ago, I caved and finally bought a fake tree, but it's beautiful. And it's just so nice to be able to just get it out and have it be easily put up. And since my parents are here in Massachusetts for this Christmas, another tradition we like to do when we're together, we're not always able to be together because my parents typically live in California and I live in Massachusetts. So we're not always able to make it work to be together. But we do the Feast of the Seven Fishes on Christmas Eve. We do it in a completely secular way, and we spread the fish out from breakfast all the way through dinner time. So it starts with something bagels and lox, usually for breakfast, and usually maybe a lobster roll for lunch. And, it's fun to do that. We're a big food family. So it's really fun to get to play with our food at the holidays.
Merry Christmas.
So first and foremost, I'm a devout, Catholic, so it's Jesus' birthday. So of course it's my favorite time of year anyway, because of the whole faith aspect of it. And I would be very remiss not to say that, up front. But I'm gonna tell a cute story about when I was a kid. It was 1982, and we had just moved to Staten Island. And my dad, who died, he died in 1992 when I was 16. So I was in high school. So it's just a little bit more of a special story. And my dad was a blue collar guy. He was an electrician, and he was the best. But I didn't know this side of him. I just didn't know this side of him until this year. So what happened was that the Atari had just come out, and it was in 1982, and it was available. And they bought me the Atari, and Santa Claus was gonna be underneath the Christmas tree Christmas morning. And that was my gift. That was the big gift, right? So however they did it, they were able to get their hands on the Atari. And my dad was so excited to give me the Atari. He didn't want to wait until Christmas morning. So I woke up on Christmas Eve, and my parents were like, "There's something under the tree. I don't know what that is." And of course, they wrote me this note from Santa Claus, and it said, "Hey, I'm so busy tomorrow. I'm gonna come a day early. I just wanted to drop this off to you. I think you could have some fun with it." So I opened up the Atari on Christmas Eve morning in 1982, and it was like the best gift, that I had ever gotten. I couldn't believe it. I was blown away.
It's a funny family. It's a crazy family. I'm sure you guys have felt the same. Eddie's from Staten Island too, so I'm sure he has, some idea in a way, but anyway, it was the first one that jumped out at me, and I started laughing thinking about it, but because it reminds me of like my Chevy Chase Christmas Vacation, kind of, story, where my grandfather at the time was like the Chevy Chase character. So it's Christmas, but we were celebrating for some reason. I remember we were celebrating my cousin's birthday, I guess because it was close, to the time, his birthday. So, and we didn't get a chance to celebrate it, beforehand. So we just decided, all right, we'll celebrate it since we're all together anyway. And they must have, some wires must have got crossed because two separate people came with cakes. So like my grandfather got the cake, and he got the, there was Pathmark at the time on Staten Island. He got the Pathmark brand, because, he was saying for the size of the cake that you would get and for the price that it is, it just makes so much more sense. But my grandmother knew that all of us, younger kids at the time, we all loved like the Carvel cakes and that kind of stuff. But for, the price of that cake, it's a third of the size, but it's like 3 times the price. But my grandmother was the type, she never cared about that. Like she'd buy us gifts all the time, whether it was Christmas or not. She'd get the Carvel cake. So my grandfather comes out of his room, and he sees the Carvel cake on the table, and he's looking around. He's like, who got this? What is this? And grandma's like, "Oh, it's for Michael for his birthday." He's like, "Yeah, I got a cake. I got a cake in the downstairs fridge. I told you I already had a cake." And I'm like, "Oh boy." I could see it's like it's starting up already, and it's going on and on and on. They're arguing about the price of the cake, the size of the cake, and then finally my uncle's wife, my Aunt Elaine, she's like, "Who cares? It's just a cake. It's just money. You can't take it with you." She just like, and this is someone who's like as quiet as a mouse all the time, but she couldn't take this O'Connell, frugality, and this fighting over money and cakes and everything. And then my grandfather, the whole room just stopped because someone had challenged my grandfather. It's like, he's the head of the table at Thanksgiving. He's the Chevy Chase. Like, he's like, the head of the household. And he just turns, like, he stops and he looks and he's like, "It's just money." Like, and then the Italian kind of comes out of me. He's like, "It's just money." He goes to his room. He goes, "Okay, it's just money." He goes through his room. Everyone's kind of like waiting, like, what is he doing? Like, what is he going to get? What is he going to do? He goes to his room. He comes out, and he has a $1 bill. And he comes out with a dollar bill like this, and he's going, okay, it's just money, right? It's just money, everybody, right? And we're like, what the hell is this guy gonna do? He goes over to the stove, he turns on the stove, and he starts lighting the dollar bill on fire. Now it's on fire, and he's holding the dollar bill on fire, and he's showing the whole family. That's like all little kids, you know, like the whole family's there. And he's going like this, it's just, and it's burning in his hand. He's going, it's just money. It's just money, right? Right, Elaine? It's just money. And it's burning in his hand. And finally, like, it starts getting close to his hand. So he starts going like this. He's like, puts it out. And then he takes the dollar bill after he burned it, and everyone's looking at him like, you are just crazy. Everybody goes back to, you know, having dinner. And I just kept watching Grandpa. Like, I'm like, I guess that's like, you know, the actor in us that we're watching, you know, human, you know, behavior, whatever. And I'm just like, wow. I'm like, what is he gonna do now? Like, and he lifts up the dollar bill and he's looking at it, and everyone's just going back to their dinner. But I'm looking at Grandpa, and he just keeps looking at the dollar bill. And then I see him go sit in the corner of the room, and he's holding the dollar bill. And then he took a rag from by the sink, and he just puts the rag over his face. And he's laying in the corner like this with a rag over his head. Like he's so, cheap that he was actually sick then after that point that he had burned the dollar bill. Like, he comes from a time where it was like, the way he saves money and the way he spends it, I've never seen anything like it in my life. So he tried to prove a point, but then he was so, you know, mad with himself that he burnt this dollar bill that he was sitting in the corner for like, almost the rest of the dinner. And that was a Christmas like that I will never forget. Like, I'm like, wow, that's my grandfather. This is my family. I'm like, I'm looking around, I'm like, this is a crazy family.
Hey, Toni.
Hi, happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
And Happy New Year.
And happy
Festivus for the rest of us.
We love you, and we can't wait to see you again. And I'll be on your show soon. I just hope you have a wonderful holiday.
I wish you all the success in the world.
Peace, love, and hope.
You bet.
Happy holidays.
Take care.
Merry Christmas.
Feliz Navidad. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you, Toni, and to everybody. I am Alicia Minshew, and I'm going to share with you one of my favorite Christmas traditions that we used to have with my beautiful Italian grandmother, who lived to be 104 years old. We would gather at her house on Christmas Eve, and she would have this stuff called strufoli, which is these little sticky balls with all the sprinkles. And I used to go to her house from the time I was little up until just a few years ago and eat all the strufoli. And the memory that I have is just the entire family gathered around with my cute little grandmother, shoving food in our face as an Italian family would do. All the 7 fishes, the shrimp cocktail, and just the feeling of being together on Christmas Eve with an enormous amount of food. My grandmother would make you have a cocktail whether you drank or not. She would say, you gotta have a drink, it's Christmas Eve. So didn't matter what age I was, she'd pour me a little something, whether it was brandy or a grappa, and we would have to toast on Christmas Eve to my grandmother. So yes, illegal underage drinking did happen in my family.
So that's your tradition.
That's her tradition. And she lived to be 104, so it worked for her. But going to her house and just having the food and the festivities and the family on Christmas Eve is a very dear memory for me. So I'm going to try and make strufoli one year. I think it's just dough, like sticky dough with sprinkles, but somehow grandma always made it really good, you know?
Yeah, my favorite Christmas story happened. My mother was 58 years old, and she went into the hospital for what we thought was going to be a 15-minute procedure on her stomach, and it turned into a 9.5-hour cancer surgery. And shocking, out of nowhere. And so that was pretty intense. We got through that. That was the first of 3 major surgeries she had to get through for the cancer, which was cancer of the colon, and it spread to the liver. Looking pretty grim. After the second surgery, the doctors really with her insistence that she was fine and she really wasn't, let her go home on Christmas Eve. So they discharged her on Christmas Eve at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but we had to have her back the morning after Christmas. That was the deal. So we did that. So I picked her up. Now, quick backstory. My parents were children of the Depression. And I think for my mother, it was really important that there be abundance under the tree. Really kind of over the top, frankly. And a lot of the stuff was like, yeah, we didn't really care, but she felt like there had to be lots of stuff. And there'd always be a really nice gift in there and some junk. And it wasn't that important to us, but it was to her. So on this one Christmas Eve, we had about an hour to go shopping because I picked her up at 4 o'clock. So we went to one gift shop and my mother bought one present, one small thing. She also didn't have a lot of money then. And she bought one small thing for each of us. It was the 2 boys and her husband. And I took her home. And that was exhausting. We got her home. That Christmas morning, we opened up one gift each because none of us had time. We were all taking care of my mom. It was the shocking thing as people whose families have been victim of this know it throws everything up in the air. And we were all about her. And so all of us only had a second to run out and get something. And they weren't a lot of money. They were simple. But that morning, our family was together and my mother was there. And that was the most miraculous, beautiful, simple Christmas that was full of nothing but love and gratitude to let me know what the holiday's really about.
Hey, Freddie Rubino here, the King of Brooklyn. Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy New Year. I just want to say my favorite part of the holidays, Christmas, whatever your holiday is the tradition and the traditional foods that everybody makes. It doesn't matter what religion it is. You know that a certain time of the year, you cook these specific foods and it brings you back to the holidays when you were a kid, and it's just as comforting as could be. I know a lot of people get depressed during the holidays because there are people that are not around anymore that used to be around, and you miss them, and it could be very sad. That's why I love the traditional foods, because food's like a time machine. You'll pick up something that grandma used to make every Christmas, every Hanukkah, every whatever it is you celebrate, and you put it in your mouth. And even though grandma hasn't been around for 50 years, she's right there with you. You feel it. It's so comforting. And that's what I love the most about all of the holidays, are the traditional foods. And that's why I tell people, when you're making them, I don't care how simple it is, have your kids help you. I tell my son, get up and crack the eggs before I crack you, because domestic violence also is part of the holidays. So you tell the kids to get involved as much as you can, because when your kids are 50 and 60 and feeling a little melancholy, they crack the egg and they go back to the kitchen when they were kids. And all of a sudden, if you're not there anymore, you're there with them. So love the tradition. Happy holidays. Love you guys. And I hope this year is a blessed year to everybody.
Merry Christmas!
We have a tradition in my house where we didn't even realize this was a tradition. My mom brought it to our attention. Right after Thanksgiving, this happens on like Black Friday. Apparently, since my mom will get done with shopping early or not go shopping at all that year because she shops throughout the year, that's how she gets her exercise. She will have us make up the house for Christmas. And when I say she will have us do this, what I actually mean is, Anthony, go downstairs and bring up all the Christmas decorations. I'm like, okay. Now I bring them all up. And then she'll get mad at me because I brought up all of the Christmas decorations. And then she'll be like, well, I don't have any space to move now. And I'm like, you told me to bring up all the Christmas decorations. So this happens every year. And while that's happening, she'll be yelling at me. And I'll be like, So I'll bring down half of it and I'll bring it back up. And then she'll ask me to make multiple trips. And my version of making multiple trips is going up the stairs, bringing everything there, and then going down empty-handed, which is a thing that she doesn't like. Apparently, I got to do multiple things at once. So I got to bring up everything, and then in the same trip back down, bring things down that don't belong. But she really likes it. And then it is not actually my responsibility, but this winds up happening every single year. We decorate the tree, and she does a great job. Like, she puts like a whole bunch of angels and like all these different things from like if we went on vacation or baby's first Christmas, things like that. Really nice things. My side of the project is always to either cut down a tree or bring the tree from the basement and put it up, and then make the music work, and then make all the lights work. And I'm not good at it, so it always takes me about 6 hours. Luckily now I'm married, so it takes my wife 6 hours. But yeah, that's gonna be the new tradition is Anthony is going to do whatever mom says to do and then mess it up. And then my wife Georgia is gonna come over and fix everything because that's her responsibility now. That's what she signed up for in the marriage agreement. That's why she's got 2 rings and I only have 1. That's how it works.
So I grew up in an Italian Catholic household, and I think the tradition I always enjoyed was going to the Christmas Eve to Christmas Day, the routine of going to church, having our grandparents over, and then the next opening our gifts the next day, and then going to my cousin's house this following day. And the tradition was being around the table and eating and sharing stories. And my, that in itself always brings me warmth because there's a lot of laughter that would take place at the stories about, during the storytelling, which I guess maybe why I became an actor and a comedian is because all of those stories kind of are embedded in my my nature, right? Like how I move and act around the world. And I lost my father 3 years ago, almost 3 years, December 12th. So I guess also now a bigger place for me in Christmas is that my dad would tell a lot of those stories and just act silly. And at the table was where a lot of that happened.
Hi, Samantha Jones here. I grew up in New York City. And on my first birthday, my mother started having an annual holiday party, which was always the Friday night before Christmas, whatever that was, usually a week ahead. And that party went on until I was about 44 years old. And every year people would come from the theater and old friends and neighbors, and often there would be new people who came every year, and sometimes there were the same people who would come every year, and sometimes there were people who would come who we would only see at the Christmas party. But it was this event that probably would fill my mother's apartment with upwards of 100 people every year, and everyone would bring something to share. So there were always wonderful platters of food and hors d'oeuvres and Christmas cookies. And she would leave the ornaments out for people to decorate the tree. But we also had an ornament table where people could make ornaments and put them on the tree. And I have ornaments on my tree today that are from that very party. So that was my Christmas tradition.
Merry Christmas to one and all. I hope you've all been good this year.
Can you tell me what's your favorite Christmas movie?
The Grinch.
Can you tell me a little bit about the movie? Like what happens?
I like the Grinch when he stole all the presents. That's the movie when he gives it back.
When he gives the presents back, yeah. That's nice. That's a nice thing. So who do you watch the movie with?
Mommy. What's it with my mommy and daddy? Takes the presents and then he brings them back.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Elf movie.
The Elf movie. What's the Elf movie about?
They go to the North Pole with Santa.
And what happens?
To make toys. The toys to kids.
What's your favorite part of the movie? Like your favorite scene, the part you love the best?
When they go to the North Pole
When they get there, yeah, that's your favorite part.
Yeah.
Did any part make you really laugh?
No. Home Alone.
Home Alone. That's a good one. What's your favorite part of the movie?
When he stayed home.
What is there something that makes you laugh about the movie? Like you find really funny? Santa Claus. What's the Santa Claus about?
Rangers help Santa tie his sleigh. Mayan.
And why do you like it so much?
I love it so much. I watch it this time.
And what's your favorite scene? Like, what's the best scene that you think is the best scene in Home Alone?
Mayan is that boys. Mayan in the back guys and swallowing.
Is it any part of it funny?
Yeah, the funny Grinch.
The funny Grinch. Wait, is the Grinch in Home Alone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that. I saw it once years ago, but I don't remember it that well.
Yeah.
What do you think? Should I watch it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Elf on the Shelf.
There's a new one. I never even heard of that one. What's the Elf on the Shelf about?
The Elf on the Shelf was when when the elf go back to Santa and came back.
Wow. And what's your favorite scene? Like, what's the best scene in the movie? Tell me about it.
It's about Santa making the presents.
And that's the best scene in the movie?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there any funny scenes in the movie? It was all serious.
It was so serious.
It's all serious. Yeah. Who do you watch it with?
Mommy and Daddy and Valentina and me.
I think I've heard of Frozen. So what happens in that movie?
Elsa he's on the Grinch.
Nice. Tell me, what's your favorite part of the Grinch?
When he takes all the presents. Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus. That's a great movie. What's your favorite part of the movie?
The big piece of presents.
When's the first time you saw the movie? Do you remember the first time you watched?
In the morning time.
The morning time. And was that last Christmas?
Yeah. Grinch.
A classic. Tell me, what do you like best about the Grinch? Do you have a favorite part of the movie?
When he went in his house.
What do you like so much about that part?
Because I watched it when I was 3 years old.
Yeah, is it any part of the movie make you laugh?
No. Santa Claus. My favorite part is the Grinch stealing the toys. I watch it on 4 times.
You watched it 4 times. That's a lot. You must really like it.
I watch it at a movie concert and at home.
How's the movie end?
Grinch put the toys next to Santa and Santa gets scared. And he goes in his sleigh and the skeleton comes and he moves out his sleigh and then he sleeps and that's it. The end. Working on where the Christmas. He was just full of Christmas.
Ah. And then who was in it? Was like Donald Duck in it or Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse? Who's in it?
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse? Is anybody else in it? Like Donald Duck or Goofy or Pluto? Any of those guys in it? Pluto. Yeah, Pluto's a good one. Was he wearing a like a hat, like a Christmas hat or an elf hat?
A Christmas hat.
Is it funny?
No. Hi, I'm Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus.
Grinch.
The Grinch. Wow. What do you like so much? You have a favorite scene in The Grinch that makes you like it so much?
Mickey Christmas.
Oh, Mickey Christmas. Is that with like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Goofy and the whole crowd, like Pluto and everybody?
Yeah. Merry Christmas. 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 Merry Christmas.